And there's other scenarios like where clients that I have that are investors,
You have a lot of people who have half of the information and they don't have others in their corner or their circle.
because the number one way to build wealth in the United States is
What's good, everybody, and welcome to the first and very special episode of the Key Leads Media podcast. As you know, with all the promotions going on, we're dropping something that's a platform for real estate professionals, finance professionals, pretty much anybody where your face is your brand. This is a platform where you can come on, talk about what you do, expand on what you do, and then really share your story about how you got into what you do to impact others in the field that you're in. So today I have a very special guest. It's crazy how we met, so I'll tell you a little bit of background as I introduce her, but it was actually just God. I'm going to say it's God. I got faith, so it's God. I was telling someone to go to a networking event. They went, and then they connected me with her. And then from there, I did some behind-the-scenes work for her, and she's a host on American Dream TV. That particular day, the individuals that were supposed to shoot her shoot didn't show up. So since they didn't show up, I just did behind the scenes for that day and then ended up getting in contact with the people who contract the shooters for that TV show. And we've been working together ever since. And it's been a great relationship that we've been building back and forth. We've done multiple shoots. And now we're here because I think this platform is perfect for her, what she does. She has a lot of passion for what she does. So without further ado, I want to introduce Stephanie Adams. Stephanie, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. I had no idea this is the very first episode, so I am absolutely honored to be here and sharing this experience and, chat with you and tell you my background and what we do.
For sure. And I didn't know that the episode we shot was your first episode. So it's actually crazy how it came full circle, but that's exactly why I wanted you first because, I was on the first episode of you with ADTV and all of those things. And it's just cool to bring it full circle, an opportunity that came from being affiliated with you and you calling on behalf to involve me in that. I wanted to make sure that you were involved with it.
Yeah, no, it was such a funny or topsy-turvy initial shoot, and you came in and it was so smooth. I was like, oh my gosh, my cameraman is not here. This is my first shoot. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna act cool. I'm gonna act cool as a cucumber. I've done this before. This is gonna be easy. We'll reschedule. Let's get the behind the scenes. But you made it so easy for us to go through that experience and come out still on top. And then it gave you that opportunity to link up with ADTV and, get your positioning there too.
For sure. So tell me a little bit more about ADTV, how you got involved with that and how you think it, pushes your brand. And then we'll dive deeper into your brand and all the things that you got going. But how did that even come about?
Yeah, so it's really cool. So I was in Las Vegas at a convention and I saw ADTV and they were showing what they do and how they showcase, just positive media, showcasing, businesses, charities, lifestyle, culture, and real estate. And I was like, this is an amazing opportunity. And I saw Craig suing, and I literally went up to him and I said, I want to be on. And he was like, okay, I'm going to get you connected. And because I got to meet Craig right up front there, they sent me directly in to go ahead and get my first shoots on the national level. So all of my shows have been on Bloomberg and Travel Channel, and it's been a real honor.
For sure. That's awesome. And that's amazing reach, right? And that's why we do what we do on our sides of things. And also, we can work together outside because I'm a licensed realtor. So it was all beneficial from the start. And I'm really glad, again, to have you on. ADTV is amazing. What you're doing is amazing. So let's talk more about what you're doing as a mortgage loan originator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the industry for about 12 years now. So it's been a while. It's been a ride. And as you know, you've really seen the market shift. We've had amazing run during COVID. We saw, the interest rates rise. And then after that, we're starting to see them come back down. And that's amazing for us. People are getting back into the market. Keep in mind, inventory is still at historic lows right now. So now is a really amazing time to buy. But outside of that, we're building our team further and further. I've got some amazing partners, Vanessa and Adam Reynolds, and we have a team, and we do an entire launch pad for loan officers that want to take their business to the next level, that just don't know how. We have a step-by-step practice and platform that shows them how to do this, and it's amazing.
Got you. And just talk a little bit more about, why you do that, your experience, maybe what you didn't have when you first got into the game, and the way you want to make an impact. The question I always like to ask is, if you didn't do what you do, what would the people that you work for, work with, or bring onto your team be missing out on?
Yeah, so I think my biggest thing is direction. So from like a loan officer perspective, a lot of times they join different teams and they're not given any direction. They're just like, okay, go get business. And you're like, but how? But how? So what do I do? So we have a core focus on directing our team members on how to build their book of business. And then from my client's perspective, meaning like if you're a homeowner and you're trying to buy a home, it's also the same thing. It's about direction, right? So if you go to, let's just say you go to a bank and they just tell you, no, you don't qualify, but they don't show you, what can I do to be able to qualify in the future? Mm-hmm. My perspective is, if not now, when? And what do I need to do to set that path to hit that goal? And so I think both of the same things, they both coincide at the end of the day.
And did you ever think that you would be in this field when you were, coming up, as you were growing up through life? Because I tell you right now, I never thought that I would actually be a licensed realtor, that I'd be in the production space with Key Leads Media and everything that we're doing now. I mean, my goal obviously was to be an NFL football player, right? Like, that's what you go do. And then I have a master's in health admin, which I'm not necessarily participating in that field at the moment either. So, life takes its turns and twists. Are there, how did you come to this situation? Did you do other things before? Like, what's your experience prior to becoming a loan officer?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad in studio art, so I was always an artsy person. So I love this type of stuff. But then outside of that, I did my master's in international business admin, and then I was going for my doctorate, got into dissertation, and I was looking for opportunity to deal with conflict analysis and resolution and teach. And at that time, conflict analysis and resolution was just really kind of breaking ground further into academia. And so there wasn't a specific opportunity with USF yet, but I went to the USF Career Fair, and there was a company. And I was like, how do I not know about buying a house? I have like this level of education, and I have no clue on what the steps are to buy a home. And so when I talk to clients, I told them the same thing. I didn't know either. So most people feel lost when they're trying to buy. And it's really interesting because it all comes down to conflict analysis and resolution at the same time. So it's kind of a circular perspective where I've landed exactly where I should be.
Perfect. And so, I mean, I can agree with that. I can attest to that, especially getting into the real estate game on the agent side. Like, you talk to so many people that have this thought process about buying a house, and they think that it's this easy or that easy. They don't know that they have to talk to this many people, that they have to understand this contract, that you need these inspections, appraisals, and talk a little bit about how you help people through some of those specific things, whatever you believe is the starting point for most people that you've dealt with, in the past, most of your career. What is the starting point that they should think about? Hey, is it a pre-approval? Should I just be saving? Should I try to get a better job, increase my income? Like, what do you see the most of, and who have you worked with the most when it comes to all of that? I'm pretty sure you work with everybody, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing is really, personally, I would take a look to see if I could get pre-approved now, and then I would then go ahead and see, if not, why not? Like there's certain standards and things that we do go by, so typically you want to have a little bit of a higher credit score. I'm not saying get into the 700s. I'm not saying you can't be in the 500s. You can be in the 500s and still qualify. Most people think that you cannot be. And don't try to you don't need to save for 20% down. Most people are so scared of having mortgage insurance that they don't buy or they sit on the sidelines continuing to save. And I'm not saying having savings is a bad thing. I think it's a great thing to have and to be financially prepared. But you could be building wealth and equity now in a property while you're paying for somebody else's mortgage. So there's different factors that I think that we should look at with a client initially. And it may not be me pulling your credit. It may be just having a conversation. Let's have that conversation, and then I can tell you what you need to do and why based around that.
All right, so we're going to pivot a little bit, right? Because everything you just said is great content, right? It's great information. It's a way that you can communicate the value that you have and that your company has. Let's talk a little bit more about your path on investing in content and branding, because obviously we've shot behind the scenes. We talked about ADTV, and then just, I know you got some things going on now. I know it's a couple more episodes and all those things that we talked about. So talk about the investment in content, why it's so important, and just where you want to go with your content for both your personal brand and for your business.
In general, I feel like, now all eyes are on social media. I mean, ADTV now is on YouTube TV. You can find us on Amazon Fire, on Roku. We're on so many digital platforms, and then outside of that, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's so many areas that you need to be in because you are your brand at the end of the day. And if you're not sharing it with, your community, you're really kind of doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion, because it's so great to have great content where you can really share and give knowledge to others. Because at the end of the day, we need to share positive, good knowledge that people can take away from and, learn from at the end of the day. Because there's a lot of content creators out there, and I don't know about you, but there's a lot of content creators out there that don't necessarily have the right insight. So we're actually sharing realistic things that you can use and attain, such as, information on home buying, like the basics. I've seen it where, you might find other content creators that, let's just say that they're not in lending, they're not in finance. They may know a little bit of the basics, but they don't know like the real deal on it. So we're just trying to share the real stuff and get away from things that aren't necessarily applicable to lending.
Find a lot of people that have half of the information, and they're not going to have, I would say, put it this way. You have a lot of people who have half of the information, and they don't have others in their corner or their circle to find the rest of the information, so that when they put the content out, it's fact-checked, or they can talk about it from a certain, perspective, saying, hey, this applies for this type of person. You know what I'm saying? Versus this applies for this type of person over here that is in this tax bracket or qualifies for these types of, down payment or closing assistance. And, it's a deeper conversation just about knowledge and education in the space, which is why this platform exists. We want to put individuals like you out there that can actually show, hey, I have the knowledge, and I just need to get more of this content out there so people know I have the knowledge and can come to me, and as a trusted source for solving this problem. So I totally agree with that. I think another component that I really want to touch on today is just the importance of financial literacy and wealth building, right? Like, because I'm sure most of your job, outside of creating content to educate people, when people actually do walk through the door, you actually start feeling like, hey, I'm teaching these people financial literacy, because it's not just about this one-time purchase. You want to build relationships. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of financial literacy in your space, why you feel it's so important. If you have any big wins, I'd love to hear about any wins that you had with clients that you've worked with over time. Like, hey, this person, you don't have to say names, obviously, but this person had this type of deal going on, this type of thing, and because I was able to get them to understand blank, 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 and blank, they were able to do this. You know, you have any stories like that?
I feel like, when I think about my clients, I think about, the client for life. Because the reality is most homeowners only stay in their home between 7 to 10 years. And then they decide to, either buy another home, get a larger home. They may use their current property, use the equity in that home to buy another property. That's one of those things that a lot of my clients do. They get a starter home, may not be your perfect home, but it is one that works for you right now. Then they end up having a family later on, finding out that home no longer fits their needs. And then from there, they'll go ahead and utilize that equity in the other property for a down payment on a new home. And we can offset that debt and that liability by that actual rental income that they'll receive on that initial home. So it's a way for them to build generational and extensive wealth, because the number one way to build wealth in the United States is through homeownership. And that is the American dream. And it's so funny that I was looking back at old school content, like from maybe 7 years ago. My first video, I indicated the American dream and the number one way to build wealth. And it was really funny because I was like, I'm on a show
called the American Dream. Yeah. That's awesome. But that's how it does. That's how it happens, though. That's how it happens. It's kind of like you manifested.
I know. I put it out into the universe, and then it came back to me. And there's other scenarios, like where clients that I have that are investors. So once clients get to a certain level of having properties, a lot of times they want to go with like a debt service coverage loan, and I won't go all into that, but that's an amazing way for investors to go limited documentation, be able to buy multiple properties and continue to attain wealth.
For sure. And that is a great way for people who've gone from that first home to the rental income of the second home, or getting out of that first home and then the rental income coming from that first home while they live in the second home. They build up equity in that second home and rebuild the equity in that first home. And now you start talking about pulling cash out of both properties and having large enough sums of money to either join groups together and go through syndication type deals to get developments, buildings, things of that nature, or just go purchase another home, right? Like even a family estate. And when you get estates, you start getting into being able to rent out parts of the estate for different events and things of that nature. So real estate has a lot of different ways for you to make money. And Stephanie knows how to get you that money to be able to do those things, because money is a tool. And that's one thing that I do want to leave the crowd with for sure today, is that they understand that they're coming to you to learn how to use the tools that they already have, meaning their income. If they have life insurance policies, maybe they can pull things out of that. If they have homes and they just didn't know this stuff, that is why it's so important. To answer the question that I asked you for us in terms of just this episode, if people didn't get to see what we're doing today, the back end of that is that you wouldn't be able to get this information. Yep. And if you don't have the information, it's hard to act on anything. So it's so important for that financial literacy piece, understanding how to take equity out your homes, and also having a network and community for you to reach out to. You know what I'm saying? So the last couple things I want to get into is just a little bit more of kind of what does the next couple weeks look like for you? Where can people find you? All of those different things. So when you talk about your books and your calendars and your availability, right? How can people get to you? Socials, emails, company websites? Like, is there anything you want to plug in there?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go on Instagram, I'm Real Estate Good Vibe Tribe.
Because
I'm all about the positivity.
We're only here for the vibes.
I'm all about the positivity on it. So you can check me out there, or just look me up on Facebook under Stephanie Adams, Home Loans, and yeah.
Stephanie Adams Home Loans, Real Estate Good Vibe Tribe, and the name of the company?
Yep, Success Mortgage Partners.
Success Mortgage Partners. Got you. Well, everyone, we appreciate Stephanie coming through. It's just the first episode. I appreciate you so much because, again, when we started working together, obviously the company and the business and the brand was in a different place, but you've been able to see it from the ground up. So this is actually monumental for me and everybody on the team and what we're doing. So can't thank you enough for
No,
coming out.
thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
For sure. And y'all got that. It's been a blast, right? So y'all know y'all want to come to the Key Leads Media Podcast, share your expertise, put yourself out there, and really start building a community around being able to do business together and help people attain wealth. So with that being said, that is a wrap. First episode, and we are out.